Hello, Scott Sylvan Bell coming to you live from San Francisco. It is February 1st, 2015. There's some silly game on the TV today. Sales training is way cooler than football any day of the week, at least in my book, right? So we're going to talk about some sales advice and some sales sabotage here. Now, what happens when you assume the buyer knows as much as you do? What happens when you assume the buyer knows as much as you do? Now, here's the challenge. If you go through that assumption and you're using terminology or words that you would use in your industry that that person isn't aware of, they might feel silly. Now, a lot of times people are afraid to ask questions because they don't want to look dumb. So if you're taking your process and you're causing that person to look dumb, chances are good they're not going to ask you questions because they don't want to look like they're needy. And because they don't want to look like they're needy, you're not going to get to the next level. They're going to check out. They're going to be sitting there and they're like, you know what? I think I'm going to make mashed potatoes and gravies for dinner tonight. And you're talking about your widget, your gizmo, your product, your service, whatever you have to offer, and they're thinking about dinner. Or they're thinking about little Jimmy's got to go get some new shoes tonight. Or this weekend, it would be really fun to go to Napa, right? So there's a million things going on. So if you're assuming that that person knows as much as you do, you're creating your own sales sabotage, you're creating your own issues, and it creates a problem. So one of the worst things to do is say, this is called, right? This is called. Just talk to people like they're normal. There's no reason to downplay or be condescending about what's going on. There's just nothing that drives me nuts more than when somebody goes and takes me somewhere and they go, hey Scott, this is called a camera, or this is called a hanger. I'm looking at all the things around me that I could do it with, or this is called a microphone. Just tell them what it is. This is instead of saying this is called, just say this is a camera. This is a microphone. You don't want to put the word called in there because then all of a sudden it becomes condescending. And especially if you have to deal with women, the more condescending you are in a sales process dealing with women, the more they're going to tell you no, and they're going to tell you I got to think about it, or they're going to give you some answer that leads to we're not doing business, okay? So if you assume that the buyer knows as much as you do, you're going to create a challenge for yourself because you do have to give them some sort of information when the time is right? You should have a pain, you should have a budget, you should have a commitment. And once you have those three things, then you could talk to them about whatever's going on. But before then, you should not, okay? So if you're assuming that they know as much as you do, you're creating a challenge because for the most part, they're not going to stop you. They're not going to ask for corrections. They're not going to ask for help. So take the time, figure out how you're going to talk to the person and explain to them what you have to offer for your product, your service, your widget, your gizmo. That would be cool. Now, if you could do a small favor for me in the box down below, leave a comment, question, or story, that would be fantastic. To the right or to the left, there's a subscribe button. Subscribe. And then send it out to all your friends via StumbleUpon, Facebook, Twitter, Google+, Scott Sylvan Bell. Only Scott Bell will Sylvan. We'll see you soon. Thanks for watching. Aloha.